for Game 2 of Immortals versus NRG. I'm Azael, joined again here by Jatt. Emily is off to the lounge to do some analysis.
Absolutely, as one does. And I would say that Game 1 from NRG was very promising, mainly because the performance of Palafox and then the coordination of the team by snap engaging at the same time are things that have been incredibly absent for a while. So they've been speaking about the fact that they redid everything in the offseason in terms of their structure and how they communicate with each other, and that they've been improving heavily week over week. A lot of that felt like just talk until actually just this last game. So we'll see if they can stay consistent with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would be a massive win if they are able to get it. This season is going by very, very quick. You only play 7 series. Of course, you are playing about as many games or more games than you played in the past, but it is single round robin, so you're playing 7 series. Every single one means so much. And this is a team that had that big run at Worlds, took down G2. We're trying to build off that hype and excitement coming into this year. The expectation was that they would be a top team in the LCS. It has not come to fruition yet. Of course, there is still the possibility that it could. It looks like we might have a little bit of a salty run back on the initial picks. It is going to be the first pick, Corki, for Mask. And will NRG swap anything up? Because Ashe is available if they want to grab it again.
Yeah, I don't see why they would change it up. They were deathless in the bottom lane, controlled the game pretty well. Ezreal never got off the table, so it's just the Ashe Sejuani, which is exactly the same as what they picked their first red side game. But the big pivot is actually from Immortals, where they got Armao's Ivern locked in early.
Yep, so Armao going to be able to grab the Ivern, so that's where the major change is going to come. Also going to be grabbing K'Sante up in the top lane there for Castle. So
yeah,
a couple significant changes. Does mean the bot lane is going to fall towards the second round, so some more bans are going to be likely thrown at Tactical and Olleh. But honestly, there's so many options in the bot lane, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. And now we have to find out if it is going to be Dhokla with the counter pick here. And we'll be able to potentially, so that could be top or mid. It should be top. Generally, we're just seeing ADTF these days. People are playing it in solo queue a little bit mid, but it's almost exclusively top, it feels like, these days.
I think if a mid laner were to play it, though, it would be Palafox. He has wide champion pool. He's willing to pick things early. But I do like these pivots by these teams, actually, just mainly knowing that the Ashe doesn't have to be in an Ashe Kalista lane can actually work very traditionally if that's what the comp desires. So even if Immortals wants to throw a Kalista ban here in the 4-5, which I think they probably should, it's not like NRG is going to be out of options, and they made sure they got their choice of counter pick in early by picking the TF. Yeah,
absolutely. And interesting that it is going to be a Ziggs ban thrown there over towards Tactical, because there's not any AP jungler. Yeah, Armao on the Ivern is going to deal a little bit of magic damage, but they are thinking, hey, you need an AP carry in the bot lane or you're going to be in trouble. We're just going to be able to stack armor.
It's
so
true.
They are going to be banning some of those. Will they ban another thing like Karthus can be played bot some? Would be another one that potentially could get targeted. There's also hybrid picks that can be thrown towards, but instead it is going to be Leona, which is something that Olleh has been liking a lot.
Yeah, I think just really quickly on Leona, I'm going to keep saying it because I was talking to some pro players. The difference in the tenacity rune being removed and just lower access to tenacity throughout is the big thing that's driving a lot of Leona's power here. And it's also, I think, enabling compositions kind of like this from NRG. With, like, you have Gold Card, you have Sejuani Stun, you have Ashe Arrow.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're buying Mercury Treads, you're not just going to freely reduce that CC.
So it is going to be Azael and Nautilus as those final bans coming over. Huhi available, is a very popular control mage in the mid lane. Azir, another big option there. So we'll see what Palafox wants to go towards, because likewise they do need some AP damage. They need some sort of source of magic damage, especially when you have Ivern behind a real tank like K'Sante. You need high DPS champions to be able to try to deal with that. So the Azir are going to make sense here, looking pretty stock standard for NRG. The big question for NRG for me is just, is it going to be double range bot, or are they actually just going to play Ashe as the AD, as the farming AD, and play a more traditional melee support alongside it?
Yeah, right now, if I'm just looking at what makes the best comp, I'd say it would be a melee support, but Nautilus, Leona are gone, so it's just going to be the Kalista, and it's more a response to what Immortals is doing. So Immortals has gone Lucien, Nami, very aggressive 2v2. I think they want to be able to match that with range of their own, but they're hovering on it a little bit, so we'll see if they end up locking it in.
I mean, this could be a really spicy bot lane in the 2v2 if it is 4 ranged champions down there. That really does draw the junglers like blood in the water, so we'll see how it's going to play out here. Obviously a great game from the bot lane. FBI and Huhi playing really well in game number 1 were a big part of the advantages that they were able to get in that first game. Palafox as well, really stepping up from what we've seen so far this split, finding multiple big plays, including that basic solo kill that he found onto Tactical's Ezreal in mid lane, which really kind of led them towards getting that first Baron.
Broke the game right open, and this is a slight tweak to the Corki Azir that we're used to seeing. I do think that Palafox is going to be in the position of playmaker once again, but in terms of the overall energy composition, every individual on that team has the ability to make plays. So that's where their coordination test is going to be had, is whether or not they can execute this composition or not.
And overall, it's very similar stylistically to what they did last time, right? Dhokla's playing a split pusher, you have Palafox on a control mage, and then the other 3 are playing the same champions. You know, how you actually execute on a lead is a little bit different. You know, generally with TF, you want to bring those advantages, get the push, and then group with your team, try to find plays. Something they are lacking is, you know, that additional melee champion for Sejuani to play towards, because Sejuani plus melee is such a strong duo for the 2v2s. And on the other side for Immortals, it is really kind of more about these 3 protect 2. You know, as far as this composition goes, it's about the Corki and it's about Tactical's Lucien. They have to have good games for Immortals to have success here.
They really do. Tactical didn't get off the ground in game 1. We know that when Tactical isn't ahead of his lane opponent, Immortals loses almost all of their games. Armao, another player who has been receiving, let's say, very heavy criticism since the first week victory they had over Shopify Rebellion. They lost 2 games pretty handily to Cloud9. They lost game 1 where his Zyra didn't look great, but now he's on one of his specialties. This is one of the picks that he had a ton of success with last year when he was playing on EG. And sometimes the early games can get a little bit unique. I would say the advantage of playing Ivern against Contractz specifically is actually a little lower, since Contractz understands the champion very well on his own.
Yeah, exactly. And these guys have played against each other quite a bit. You know, this is coming into this series, I believe. It wouldn't be likely updated after game number 1, but very even as far as the head-to-head goes. You know, there has been definitely a little bit better stats-wise on the side of Contractz. And as you said, their pressure, I think, is kind of on Armao because he has been the one receiving a lot of criticism. And there's you know, in this new era where there are less teams in the league, it is even more competitive for these spots, right? You know, if you're not performing, if your team isn't doing well, they're going to be considering roster changes. They're going to be, you know, worrying about that. So Armao, the pressure just kind of keeps building for him.
Absolutely does. You can see on the right of your screen there 1,000 damage per minute, or damage per minute in game 1 by Palafaker. His name changed just for the graphic once you hit 1,000. His name is definitely going to change. But early laning phase, just going to be conservatively trading, neither jungler invading each other, and I think the most likely spice is going to be in that bot lane where we have double Hail of Blades against the Lucien Nami.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if someone really overextends or kind of disrespects the play, then maybe the junglers are going to be able to find an angle, but bot lane can get spicy for sure. Lucien Nami not going to be able to really contest at level 1 whatsoever, especially against double Hail of Blades and, you know, barrier. They are set up to really succeed in that 2v2, but you need a couple levels generally for the Lucien Nami, then things can kind of start to turn online. Once you hit 3, you can start to look to fight back a little bit more, and then it becomes more that kind of skill-based matchup that we all do want to watch. But Mask thus far doing very well in the 1v1, you know, pushing Palafox back, looking to get chip wherever he can. Mask did not have a very good game in game number 1, was caught out a number of times, it felt like, including on that final push. But you know, here is the stat for Palafox between last year's summer and this year's summer. Not the start he has wanted. This does not include last game where he did have a good game. That would be a bit of a boon to the stats. But you know, talk to me about, you know, some of the things that Palafox kind of maybe needs to get back towards that we saw from him last year.
Yeah, it's strange because confidence is a hard thing to manifest when you're just watching a game like this, but it's the decisiveness factor that I feel like he's lacked, even in spring. Then he also just ends up making a lot of individual mistakes. So I remember his Ahri a lot of times in spring, he was just missing a lot of skill shots, never being on the same page in fights. But when Palafox goes in first, that's the big play. Armao's bot, though, as FBI was trying to get spicy.
Does throw out the trigger seed. They do have him slowed down. The bubble going to whiff. FBI does heal. Neither side flashing just yet. They're kind of holding on to it. FBI does have the barrier. He's going to have to use it, but the barrier came out a little bit late. Didn't actually absorb any of that damage, and FBI is going to get sent back to base. It is the heal and the barrier traded out for the heal on the side of Olleh, but of course, Tactical and Olleh very healthy. whereas FBI has to base. We'll see if Huhi can kind of try to hold this wave, or how much of it is going to be lost.
It's crazy how similar this is to the jungle clears that happened in Game 1. Both junglers full clear. Armao goes bot first, gets multiple summoner spells, gets the first Scuttle Crab, and then also hangs around until his bot lane can fully push in the wave. There was going to be no problem fully pushing in this wave, in my opinion. FBI was clearly going back to base, and Contractz is almost certainly going to be trying to get his top Scuttle Crab, but Armao still make sure they can get that wave in, and Contractz first out back to top Scuttle.
It is a little bit funny, right? Because they had mid-push. Yeah. There was, again, an angle for, they could have maybe gone for double Scuttle, right? But instead, he decides not to take the risk, is just going to go back to base, grabs his tier 2 boots, has the Lucidity boots, and we'll see, you know, as they get the base here for the Lucien, what the buy is going to be. Double longsword, so it does have a pretty nice buy compared to what FBI did get. And it is going to be that little bit of an advantage here, as they do still have that cleanse available. Of course, not going to be too useful until Huhi does hit level 6, but still that slight edge for the Immortal spot lane.
Yeah, now since he has Smite, I think he would have thought about taking Raptors, but they were very easily going to collapse on Armao. So Armao not being able to get many early Ivern advantages, even though, when I look at the bot lane as well, even though FBI got pushed back, the wave bounced really favorably for him, and it's Immortals really cloning Game 1 once again as they are doing the 5-minute swap top lane.
Yeah, and this is honestly a pretty costly swap for Tactical, because look at that big stack waves that he could have gone back to grab. Instead, they're actually giving that over to Castle. So unless the Lucien is able to get a lot of gold up on top side, this is actually a pretty costly swap for them, because that's about 10 plus CS that he actually misses out on. Does also mean the energy, like Game 1, are going to be able to grab the dragon. And we'll see, because the grubs aren't there to spawn just yet, so they're not going to be able to actually do any sort of a trade. It just feels almost purely advantageous for NRG.
NRG teamwork working great right now. Dhokla already ready to catch that bot wave. If they continue to have this type of teamwork, it would be very good for their overall season, because we have a visualization of the new LCS schedule for NRG and how important it actually is. So these are 7 slots. They have an L, they have an L. So that's already this much of their season that is gone, unwinnable. If they added, so that's already 28.56%. If they added another loss, that would be a huge amount of losing and only having those 4 games to have here. But if they go L, L, W, who knows what happens for the rest of it. 1 and 2 is really not that bad compared to 0 and 3.
It's the beginning of the roller coaster towards being world champions if you get a win today.
Also, they're going to have side select for 3 of their next 4 series. They're going to have the break, by the way, after Thursday, Friday. The next LCS game is going to be July 20th. Mark that on your calendars. It's going to be a break. So even though it's just 2 weekends, because this weekend's a little earlier, it's going to be a time for teams to reset and really have a second shot at this summer split.
Exactly. It almost feels like another beginning of the split, like a second start to the split, because there's so much scrim time for some of these teams that will be able to, you know, really make some big adjustments, and we'll have to see what they can get done. As Huhi and FBI lying in wait here, won't be able to really find much of anything besides a little bit of poke, as obviously no level 6 for Huhi just yet, so not going to be able to find any sort of a big play. And Contractz now has been spotted out. Armao does take the scuttle, is in the area, so both junglers are aware of where the other one is. Both of them have hit level 6, and Ivern going to be able to clear out this ward, keep themselves safe. It's been a much more kind of patient game. You know, no fireworks have erupted down in the bot lane. Mid lane's kind of farm fest similarly to the first time. And Castle is kind of just gracefully losing in this 1v1. And that's kind of what's expected, you know, in this matchup. As a tank player, if you can just kind of gracefully go down a little bit of farm, a little bit of gold, you are feeling very, very good. And right now, he's basically dead even. There are more minions for his opponent to farm, but you don't care about being down a couple CS in this matchup at all.
Especially not as Cassante. Where you do care about being a couple CS down, though, is in this matchup. 56 to 69 as the waves are about to meet. So 2 full waves of gold down against the Kalista Ashe lane as the Lucien Nami. Not all of that is from laning. It's from map movements here. So Tactical on the back foot. He's not going to be the one to drive this game forward as of now. And Contractz is just really spending a lot of time up here. And just his presence there is preventing Olleh and Tactical from doing anything aggressive.
Yeah, he's honestly doing a really good job, because it feels like he is just hovering and hovering and hovering. But then you look at the farm, he's actually up farm in the jungle matchup, right? And he kept up very well in the Sejuani versus Zyra also. So that just kind of tells me that Contractz is pathing very efficiently. You know, he's been at the right place at the right time. Ashe arrow, not quite going to hit, as Huhi just lets that one fly from
Another mid
very
gank.
far away. Another mid gank. Yeah, this Ashe support pressure mid lane is crazy. But throws it out before he bases, so he figures, there's not really anything to use it on in this next little while anyway, and he will have it back up before the next dragon, which is maybe where he's thinking there's going to be a fight.
Absolutely. 2 minutes from there. I do need to see if Sejuani ends up being really useless in this game, though. And that's because of what we talked about in Champ Select, of being the only melee. Like, and it's a bit of a draft point, because the beginning of this draft felt like a clone of the Game 1 draft with the first pick, Corki, into the Ashe Sejuani. But then, since NRG was so willing to pivot away and counter the other things that Immortals was locking in, they looked at the end of the day and said, crap, we picked Sejuani with four range champions. So Contractz has to just be much less potent in teamfights and in ganks, because no one else is going to help him proc his brittle.
Yeah, I will say at the very least, if you are going to play a melee engage champ, at least you're not Vi or something that you have to throw your body in, right? True. You can just throw out the ults and kind of fish with them, a little bit lower risk. But it's kind of the meta. I mean, it's how many AD carries can you fit in a team? Is Huhi going to get called down? It does force out the Fate's Call, as he was getting chunked a little bit low there. I mean, if you want to count TF as an AD carry, there's 3 on one side, 2 on the other. Even if you don't, we have 4 in this game.
GG, it's over. Yeah.
The
5.
AD carry diff.
5, yeah.
Well, I said 4 if you don't count the TF.
Oh, okay. I'm counting the TF.
Yeah, I would count it 2 personally.
Yeah.
That's 5.
I liked actually how early FPI uses Kalista Ultimate there to preserve health on Huhi, because they want to have full health for him to move up and actually fight this Drake. This is where we're going to have a fight. Castle has TP.
The bubble connects.
Dhokla has TF ult if a fight does end up starting. Still 22 seconds, though, from the start of the fight.
Okay, I was going to say there was the ulti advantage on the side of NRG, but not really anymore. And now just going to summon up Daisy here with the shield to get a little bit of poke on Huhi, trying to retake some of this space. Both teams kind of posturing pretty lightly around that bot side, but Contract's going to say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go top side where I have pressure. I'm going to play towards those grubs. If you want the dragon, you can take it. Doesn't want to give up 6 grubs again this game.
Oh, this is really interesting, actually. They're basically conceding this. It was going to be a hard fight to stop for Dhokla because he has no TP, so he'd have to move pretty far down the river consistently, and I think Castle could have really started abusing him in the top lane, and they may as well trade, especially if it's not even going to be a trade. Immortals is opting for plate gold shared between the Lucien Nami instead of this Drake, so it's actually just grubs for a plate, which I think NRG is going to be really happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting choice to not actually go for the dragon whatsoever. Maybe Immortals doesn't actually want to play towards dragon, doesn't want to play towards the soul conditions. They don't even want, more dragons to spawn or something.
Yeah, they might not have had vision, because I'm thinking about the way Contractz snuck through. Like, he crossed through mid.
Crossed through mid. They definitely knew.
They definitely saw him.
It was an option, but they decided not to go for it. Not a big deal. A lot of teams are going to prioritize gold early over an individual dragon, but we'll see where it does go from here. As it is going to be the Ardent Sensor Rush with double AD carry, I think makes quite a bit of sense. The Ardent Sensor now completed here for Armao, and over on the other side, it's another cheap support item. That seems to be the meta for a lot of junglers these days. We saw it last game as well from Contractz. Is the Zeke's Convergence. Quite a strong individual item. It has armor, it has MR, has health, has ability haste, and it's dirt cheap, so you can get a really quick one-item spike. They're going to look on bot lane.
Is huge. Just a quick dodge there. Those Ashe ganks not quite working out yet, but that one was actually the closest yet, since it was a close range.
And they got the flash, so that one's definitely worthwhile, as they do force out the flash there from Mass. He is, of course, running TP. He does have the Merc Treads, but then they are that close on top of you. You cannot rely on the Merc Treads to keep you safe in that position. Tactical, and potentially in some trouble here. Gonna have to dash out as the bubble does land, and the culling's gonna come through, chunking them down. Nice little Sejuani ult to actually interrupt the culling there onto Tactical, but it's just a trade of ultis, and again, not too much of a big deal on either side.
I think it's gonna be really hard to kill people this game, after seeing some of these early fights with Cleanse already being brought by Tactical, and I think Olleh's probably going to be bringing Mikhails. We got shields as well coming in from Ivern, and huge numbers of ranged champions. Like, teams don't necessarily have to commit, and then also have a good way of dodging things, but maybe we'll see some kills around this Drake.
Contractz is now spotted. He is right in on top of him. Daisy trying to do her best to tank this one up. Armao likely going to have to flash over the wall. Does have to do so. The TP coming in now, but the TF ult is here as well. And they're going to be waiting for him. Nice buffer. He's going to be able to immune the gold cards. He just W's away to safety, but that does mean it's NRG's Dragon and the TPs used for nothing there from Immortals. They committed both.
Yeah, that's a big loss for them. Lose cleanse, lose TP, don't even get the Drake, don't get wave pressure. Incremental advantages is all NRG needs to keep stacking in this game. And I think we did see an example of how hard it is to actually fight in this game, because if either team were to send someone all the way in, like if Castle, as the only melee champion on his team, decided to all in there, he probably dies. And a nice dodge there by Tactical, having no cleanse. Pops Olleh in the noggin though.
That one hits. Count that. Mark it up on the stat sheet.
1%.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah, exactly. He's on the board. Ashe Arrow does connect. Is building up quite a bit of CDR, has the call fields, has the CDR boots as well. So is pretty comfortable just kind of firing those out. Azir going to be scaling up. Corki going to be scaling up as well. You can see the Kraken now done for Dhokla. He obviously went for the Swifty Boots rush. Move speed so important in these ranged versus melee matchups. It really is about, can you stay on top of this guy when you're trying to chase him down, and can you avoid his potential all-ins when he's looking to get aggressive. Palafox down on the bottom side knows it's his turn to play defensive, just backs it all the way off. His team is playing on that top side, looking for that Herald. Of course, they split the grubs. They're going to be able to grab the Herald. It is a trade, though, for this tower on bot side, and Matt's going to be able to get solo gold on it. So we'll be feeling pretty good about this situation so far. I
don't love these trades. We'll have to wait to see what happens with the Herald, though, because the bonus gold on the first turret was increased post MSI to try and curb lane swapping. It really accelerates the solo laner when they're able to get that. So even though Palafox had a really solid game one, now 33 CS plus that solo turret gold means he's 1,200 gold behind the Corki. That's madness.
Yeah, it's a lot of gold. You know, isolated solo gold on first tower is crazy amount of gold for sure. And like you talked about last game, Herald is just potential gold. It is not guaranteed gold, right? Last game, we actually saw that actually work out, where NRG were lying in wait and stopped the Herald. They actually killed it off top lane before it even got a charge, because Castle TP'd in and they had to use it to run away to top lane in kind of a funny play. But yeah, you're giving up that guaranteed gold over to Mask. Either way, though, NRG maybe just kind of confident in their scaling, feeling like, hey, it's okay if we're trading gold, it's okay if we're in these situations, maybe we'll win out later. I
think it is worth it if they can break mid, just because Lucien Nami needs to have mid control to be effective. That's one of the big things when you see these items completed. You just pop the culling and you can push any squishy out of mid lane, but without that mid lane turret for their own defense, it's much harder for them to posture aggressively. You can flank in behind them. As of now, though, not a setup to actually make that Herald happen, and there's that Lucien Nami mid-prio on display.
Yeah, Huhi gonna get chunked down, does pop the heal there. As you can see, that Pierce Rend, a lot of damage coming back from FBI. Played this lethality build last game as well. The poke cannot be understated with this sort of a build from the Kalista. You can chunk people very, very hard, and that CC can be really dangerous because the follow-up coming through from that lethality Kalista is a lot.
Absolutely is. Where are you on the scaling of ADTF? Because I've heard vastly different opinions. I think it depends. Like, I've seen late game ADTF actually take over team fights if he can find the right entrance, but compared to Cassante, I think you'd imagine the Cassante will have more effect later.
It's generally a lot easier, I think, for the Cassante to get done what he wants to get done. As you say, you know, if TF can find a really good angle, get like an isolated 1v1 against the AD carry who doesn't have cleanse, you hit the gold card, you can kind of win that. That can be really big, but oftentimes as ADTF late game, you just become someone who's relegated to just a gold card, right? You're just walking forward, fishing with gold cards, allowing your team to try to follow up on that again and again and again. So we'll see what he can get done. There's the Fate's Call. The Ashe Arrow does follow. The cleanse comes through and the flash. Nicely responded to there by Tactical, but a good aggressive play from NRG. Huhi actually almost went down there. He was quite low, as that would have been unfortunate, but they do get the end of the summoners out at the end of the day.
Yeah, very important to get the cleanse off of him. That unlocks Contractz to start firing his ultimate when Tactical tries to play aggressively on mid lane. He's going to stick around most likely since Olleh's return and is pumping him full of heals. That's the second game in a row there here where Tactical, while holding mid lane, has gotten dangerously close to dying. So it's definitely a spot that NRG is attacking with how aggressive Tactical, I think, has been playing.
Yeah, they have not been hesitant at all in either game to throw out their engage tools. You know, NRG are just firing them out, and you know, whether it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it's pretty low commitment on these sorts of plays. It is going to mean no summoners for Tactical if they wanted to try to commit to this next dragon, because that would be the third dragon for NRG. It is not going to be one of those big ticket ones. It's Chemtech again, so NRG definitely going to be a bit disappointed to see that.
Yeah.
As you know, you're maybe a little bit less concerned, but it's looking like they want to go for it either way. They're going to drop the Herald towards mid, try to play for Prio there, and then utilize that to get down for this third dragon.
Okay, maybe they just soft contest this mid wave because Palafox is just free pushing on bottom, not even here yet. Do they even get this crash? Yes.
Well, they get the charge. Not going to be able to get the kill. Palafox has come up, and they are on the dragon. Immortals now looking for an angle. They're going to be TPing in the Cassante, so everyone is here. Dace is already dead. And Dhokla just harassing them from the side, but there's the Tokyo drip from Contractz. Nails the ult, and the Ashe is there to follow. But it's just to push them back and actually claim the dragon here. They're just fishing with this low commitment CC here. Mass actually going to bail out. TP's up towards top. Now the TF ult has been popped because they know Mass can't come. He's going to actually TP in, flashes the bubble, it looked like, or flashes the root there from Armao, excuse me. So it doesn't get much from it. Mass is going to be able to actually grab the top lane tower. So it is, at the end of the day, kind of just the dragon for the turret trade, but that's NRG again on Soul Point.
Very interesting set of plays there. Dhokla definitely going to regret that ult flash at the end. He got the Cassante,
At least
man.
it wasn't a blue card.
At least it wasn't a blue card to flash in. I don't think Immortals is that upset about this because Mask is now the carry.
Yeah.
1000% the carry. 2 solo turrets taken for him. 233 CS. If we, in 5 minutes, are wondering, like, wow, how did Corki get so huge? It's because they've actually conceded so many of these other minor objectives, and he's going to need to be powerful for that soul fight.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the trade-off, right? Yeah, you got the Corki with all these items, but now there's huge pressure to make that next fight work, because if you give up soul, then all of a sudden these concessions here and there to get enriched don't pay off whatsoever. So that is going to be the big risk, and we'll see if they can actually make it work out. Partially, I think they were also nervous because Tactical, again, was missing double summoners for that fight, so I don't think they wanted to hard commit to it, but they have got to make this next one work.
I think that's the bigger thing. They were probably losing that Drake anyway, so they may as well give themselves an out, and that out is 1000% Corki here. Looks like FBI will be able to complete this kill, and even though it's still a deathless game, if we do have a fight, that's going to be completely what breaks the game open since it's this late and Baron falls. I'm going to curse it here in terms of a short versus long game, but I feel like games where first blood takes forever, the Nexus doesn't take that long.
Yeah, it's like a 25-minute first blood and a 28-minute win.
Exactly, because it just blows up as soon as the first person dies.
And this is actually the latest first blood of the season so far when it is connected on. And if it keeps going, maybe we're going to set some more records. It's like I'm watching LCK.
Can we get Elder before first blood? Has that ever happened?
Let's find out. Can we? Yes. Will we? I don't know. We're gonna try to figure that one out along with you, as both teams playing it pretty patiently. Huhi does throw a long distance arrow there again. Dhokla's in the area, potentially ready to start this one off. If he can lead with the gold card, Palafox could be in trouble. Contractz is going to wrap around, and they do force out the Valkyrie, so now Mask is in a lot of trouble as Contractz is behind him, but he got pushed away by Armao. So Armao and Tactical there to reinforce means that Mask is going to stay safe. Immortals had the right read on the play. They keep their Corki secure.
Yeah, nice defense. I think if NRG overcommits there, they would have had a failed gank, and then Mask really gets going. You can see the reason he has the 200 gold bounty is because of his CS. It's so high in comparison to the average CS of NRG that's just a display of how fed he is. 1.6 thousand gold up on Palafox Azir, who isn't
Fate's call is going to get thrown down. Tactical, potentially some trouble, but there was no Ashe ult available, but instead, the first blood is secured. It's on the Nami, the latest one of the split. Armao now looking, he connects the root onto the TF. Dhokla's gone as well. It's a trade of kills. NRG on the run. Can Immortals get more? Mask wants to try to chase him down. They're going to try to look for Daisy. Try to catch up, get some slows here, but I don't think they're really going to be able to do it. But look at that big one coming through from Mask. That was about half the health off of Huhi. So this Corki's starting to hurt.
The aggression by NRG not working at first.
It's just on the Cassante. Doesn't have the Pathmaker to buffer, but we'll be okay.
Palafox would have had an option to try and ult people back, but I think the team was just too weak, and he would have ended up just suiciding himself. Interesting play there. Didn't necessarily see the angle at first for NRG to go in, but when they just get the support and then TF falls on the back end and Immortals is the one to push afterwards, you'd almost say that play isn't completely worth it.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the Ashe arrow, I get the play, because your fake call, knock up, and then the Ashe arrow, but he used the Ashe arrow on top lane. So he's kind of just like, up here, throws out an auto attack and then runs.
And you can see they can actually finish the play at the end, but Dhokla had to teleport so deep in. He gets caught by the Ivern. And at this point, Mask is untouched. He still has Tactical at full health in the back of the fight. It's a fine death for Olleh. The team doesn't lose out from here, and they're back to pushing mid.
All right. Well, they grab the tier 1 mid. Now that it was just kind of an even trade on the first blood, do you still feel like it's going to be a fast game? Because the first
You're pushing it.
I'm with you in a lot of those games where it's like the first kill in a late first blood is like a 5-0 into a Baron or something.
Yeah.
But this is just a 1-for-1.
I agree. I still think it's going to be a fast-ish game because of the soul point being in 6 seconds.
So it's going to be a bloodbath over at the Dragon. That's where Jatt's predicting.
Well, based on the current game state, it's not looking like that. It's looking like
it's going to be a bloodbath for the Dragon.
I wanted it to be, but it is not that.
Well, I'm saying the Dragon is still being brutally killed here in front of our eyes. All right, well, they do find the arrow. Tactical cleanses out, but he's going to be snagged by the arrow right off the back. Nami ult there to peel them. Corki does get it for free. That is just the Summoner's force there, as the tidal wave was enough from Olleh to keep him safe. Mask, though, in some trouble. Remember, he has no cleanse, and in comes the TF. He's going to try to flash away, but he flashes in the middle of everyone. Just gives the kill away anyway, and now NRG are going to be going up towards that Baron. I think they want to try to force something here. We'll see if they can get the push out mid.
The Dragon heist was great by Immortals to prevent the soul point, but at what cost? Mask killed on the retreat. NRG doesn't have that long. The 30-second respawn timer has the teleport available for Mask Corki, so they got to go quick.
Yeah, we'll see. Tactical looking for the culling, gets a big one. Is going to actually force out the Fate's Call there. No buffer again from Castle, as he doesn't use the Pathmaker as the gold card comes in. But that's enough. NRG a little bit gun-shy here. They're going to pull back. Not committing to it. I thought they might have wanted to go a little bit more aggressive because really the only damage threat is Tactical with Mask off the map. You know, there's not a lot of poke, there's not a lot of damage. Culling was used and chunked out Huhi. But like, what are you going to do after that, right? You then have to kind of commit to the fight. So I felt like maybe NRG could have stayed around a little bit longer and tried to get a turn.
I think their Baron damage is probably just too low. With Lethality, Kalista, and the Azir. It's 16,000 health Baron.
Yeah.
It's a tough one because it's just one guy, and it's this early in the game that I think they're still taking a bit of damage from the Baron. I understand why they would pull back.
Yeah, and they are still at soul point. No, I get it. I think they can kill it pretty quick with ADTF and Azir, but clearly they didn't want to risk it and decide to just kind of pull back there. But it is, at the end of the day, meaning that then the pick doesn't really amount to too much, but Mask did waste his flash on that previous play, and now Immortals trying to, again, check these brushes, utilizing Daisy, just sending it forward, scouting out, so they're not going to get picked off here. They get some vision down, and are going to be able to reclaim at least a little bit of that, as it just feels like, again, a game that we're moving towards these team fights eventually, but it just has to be one of the teams has to kind of draw the line in the sand. You know, NRG can give up the next Dragon again if they want, but you would suspect that that would be their major advantage. That would be their major win condition, and they want to fight for it.
I think they do want to fight for it, but I do wonder if the poke from Lucien, Nami, Culling, and now the full 3-item Corki is going to be a little bit too much, because neither of these teams have, you know, upon further viewing, great ways of actually engaging on the other team. I really liked the way that Castle has stood in front of any of the energy engaged, whether it would be a potential Ashe era, but mostly just gold cards, to not give Dhokla good targets to burst down. It's making them surprisingly squishy, even though they just or surprisingly slippery, even though they just have the one cleanse and no Mikhail's yet completed. Yeah,
and Dhokla hasn't really been able to create too much of an advantage through side lane. Yeah, he has a gold lead, but that's kind of just what TF does. You print money with your passive, so you're going to create a lead in that way, but he hasn't really been threatening towers too much. He hasn't really been, you know, kind of pushing that forward. Corki's down also 16, which is when the poke becomes very difficult to deal with. Tactical, trying to play confidently here. He has the LDR, he has the rapid fire, so wants to step forward and poke away. But anytime it's just on Contractz, honestly, you don't really care because he's sitting on the Warmogs, and by the time anything happens, he's right back to full.
It's true. He's got 2 supports, though, so he's got to try.
He's going to turn. He lands the arrow, everything coming through. Is the gold card going to be there as well? Where did he actually come in with the ulti? Couldn't quite see it on the map, but not going to be the follow-up there as he just tanks the Sejuani ult. The Ashe arrow hits for the cleanse. With that CC reduction coming in right after it, Tactical is totally safe and is able to just walk it out while Palafox is pushing down mid.
and Palafox is most likely wanting to take this whole turret. Immortals just says, now is the time. NRG has no hard engaged tools, so Immortals just starts it up. Let's go.
It is getting down pretty low. They want to force the TP. Palafox is basing first. He's still not TPing. Now he's going to be TPing in towards the rest of the team. Will Immortals just back it off? As this is getting really dangerous. If they back off now, NRG might just commit to it. It's going to be a flip potentially. It's down to 3K. Eyes on the junglers. Can K'Sante pull him out? He does, and it is secured, but K'Sante then is going to be going down for free, so Immortals have got to run. We'll see how many of them can actually get out. Huhi almost dies. Has to flash out as he gets thrown in with the fake ult. Great bubble from Olleh. Does disengage on 2. And now the question is, can Tactical get home? He's gonna save himself with a Baron recall. Thumbs up, see ya later. It's just the 1 kill for the Baron, well played by Immortals.
No time to really take stock of what happened, though, because Soul Point is up in 35 seconds. Immortals already trying to run back out. Castle 20 seconds, but has the teleport. So Immortals just buys items straight back on the map, and it's going to be the same play over and over again. Really love that QSS that Tactical just bought, because he's actually playing like the second front line for this team. The most underrated part of Cleanse is that 75% CC timer reduction for 3 seconds afterwards. Saved him a couple times this game, and we have another potential brawl here if NRG want to take it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he knows this fight is so important. He has to buy the QSS. He has to be able to play aggressive on the Lucien, or they just won't have enough damage to get through the front line. So Tactical stepping forward here, trying to get what he can done. There's the TP in from Castle, but both teams just kind of lining up for 5v5. Dhokla looking for some poke here. The Ashe arrow going to whip. Castle's going forward, but he's not getting too much done. They secure the dragon, though. Again, Castle just used to push the enemy jungler back and try to take something from that. NRG could potentially run towards mid, as they do have a wave there, but at the same token, Immortals are just going to go towards bot, look to try to push that in. Palafox is just out of vision, won't be spotted, but he will be there to defend as Contractz has gone back as well, and Immortals still on the push.
They want to push here, and NRG might try and counter with the fight. Castle's doing so much work this game, though. One of the most effective 0-1-1 K'Santes I've ever seen, holding off the TF and giving them
Contractz in trouble. He has to flash out of there. Barely survives. Tactical is going to try to follow up on this great flash from Dhokla as Castle tried to get behind him, look for the flash, and he wanted to be able to pull him back into the rest of his team. Tactical came in to try to support, wouldn't be able to get the kill.
Some really obnoxious Ivern stuff going on here too, with the Baron cannon minion that you can't see, who's just hitting your turret. They're going to hold him there and really just wait for the next wave, try and really choke this turret down.
Yeah, Castle is chunked out pretty low. Another gold card does land. This time it's going to be buffered with the Pathmaker, but they have the shields, constantly throwing the shields up. But look at the damage from the Azir. The stun does land, and now it's Immortals on the run here. His mask got incredibly low there. The TF ulti has been popped. Can they actually find an angle? Tactical down incredibly low, going to pop the culling, trying to look to turn it around. The Pathmaker used defensively. The Sejuani ult doesn't really get too much. Neither team can fully lock down the other, and it's just this game back and forth where one team gets the edge, and then they're able to find the other team just disengaging.
The Moonstone Ivern as well as the Nami are just keeping Immortals' health bars so full. They get chunked out, which makes you think that the fight would be over, and you look up again, and they're at 80% health. So Immortals has really stuck around in this game, and they're going to have to keep doing the same things. The reason this last play worked is they're just getting set up first. They throw out more poke, and the Corki is fed enough that the poke is really substantial, and it makes Contractz be able to go in. Then everybody else is incredibly squishy, so they just can't. And then Immortals gets the objectives and slowly, incrementally finds their way back in the game.
And we had some really close margins there because Contractz flashed out with, I want to say, 5% health. Then we had Castle stunning up Dhokla and flashing behind. If he got the all-out, Dhokla is for sure dead, but he barely flashes over the wall and survives. Then we have, Immortals getting incredibly low and almost dying. So it is the slimmest of margins here, and we are getting later and later into the game where one-sided fight could mean the end of everything.
Yeah.
It's so dangerous when you make a mistake in these later stages, but you like to see Tactical playing with confidence here on the Lucien. We saw a lot of credit being given to Jan, who was having some really strong games on his Lucien. A lot of people talking about him as potentially the best Western Lucien, and Tactical trying to give him a run for his money, trying to have a strong carry performance here, and we'll see if he can really step up and find those big plays that his team is going to need from him if they're going to win.
Completely agree, and boy, do they have some tools to keep him safe from the CC of NRG. he has Cleanse, he has a QSS, and his support has Mikhail's. This is going to make him so confident, and he also has Ivern shields that are just refreshing on him. But, like, he can still die pretty fast. That's the thing he's going to have to worry about a bit. I don't think he's going to die from CC. He's just going to die from getting hit in the face by a Kalista Q and a couple of Azir shots.
Exactly. I mean, we saw him stepping forward. He got autoed by Azir a couple times. You lose like half your health. At this point in the game, especially when Death Cap's completed a little bit later on for Palafox, you are heavily outranged. A couple autos is sometimes all it takes. Pierce Ren comes through from FBI, then all of a sudden you're dead. You can't cleanse that. And it is going to be Immortals moving over towards the Baron, trying to secure some vision, as that's going to be the next objective up here. 45 seconds until that does spawn. About a minute, as NRG would have their third crack at a potential soul.
Man, I really jinxed it when I said the game was going to be fast for having a late slow blood. But I'm here for it. I want to see these teams battle. Chemtech Drake is the only one that hates this because he might die like 7 times this game.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up.
If Immortals can get the 4-of-a-kind soul, which they're kind of trending towards. Their poke is better than NRG's poke right now, and NRG actually just can't engage. There are too many cleanses and CC breaks on Immortals, especially with who is presenting themselves to be hit.
Yeah, Dhokla down here on this bottom side, just trying to take away as much gold as he possibly can. He already has 3 full items completed. We're seeing that really across the board for a lot of the players. They have those 3 items. Palafox, of course, working on his 4th. Tactical working on his 4th as well. Mask already has 4 done. It is a 0-1-1 Corki, but he is ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
And Contractz really seems to be the only one they can ever hit. And they keep getting the poke down, but not really anything more than that. It's a bit of an aggressive Valkyrie forward there from Mask, but felt confident with his 2 supports behind him that he would be able to look for that sort of a play. Tactical again, just playing through mid, looking to get Prio there.
Dhokla,
and it is Dhokla. Yeah, Dhokla over on the Dragon here, spotted out, but Tactical is getting hit a little bit on the other side, trying to control mid. Matt's going to go forward. That's the face call immediately used. Contractz trying to turn around. There's the cleanse. There's the tidal wave coming through. But they got the flash off Tactical as well. The calling coming through. And now there's no flash for Contractz. No way out. The jungler is down. Dhokla's trying to rush this, but there's no way he can kill it in time. It should be a 3rd straight Dragon here for Immortals. And the question is, what else can they get after this? Do they have time to take this and go for the Baron? As that might be the angle. It's a long respawn on Contractz.
I think they can, at the very least, get the Drake, and I think this is the correct call. Even if they could get the Baron with the Dragon being down, giving up the soul is a no-go with how slow these fights are. So now both teams on soul point, and I think if Immortals doesn't try and rush it here, they just keep running the same play. This could potentially be slightly impatient because that'll corner them in, but they get the chunk on Palafox.
Oh, that's a big chunk on a Palafox. Armao doesn't actually have the ult right now, so they don't have anyone really to actually tank this up. So they are taking quite a bit of damage on it, but it looks like NRG aren't even feeling confident to try to fight it with no jungler. They don't want to risk their game on this play, so they're going to push out mid. They're going to try to take it tier 2. But Immortals slowly but surely dragging themselves back into this game. The Ashe arrow doesn't hit anything. More items being completed. BT now done. Another item now completed as well for Tactical. He's got the IE now on top of the QSS. Still has the cleanse.
Yeah.
And he is going to be really difficult to take down.
He can definitely kill Contractz. So Contractz isn't the guy that can move up in mid lane, especially with his IE now.
They're looking for a flank. Dhokla has no flash and no way out potentially. He's going to get swept back in. He's gone. It's Palafox. Colin Palafaker makes the big play in the mid lane, right where Faker caught Ruler, takes him down. Castle's falling as well. How much can NRG get on this push?
Such a clutch play, but with no Baron buff, they need to wait for a few more minions. Mask can clear a lot, but NRG, they need to make the most out of this because that was a miracle catch by Contractz and Palafox.
Yeah, they're going to try to potentially even just end the game. There's not a lot left in the tank here for Immortals to defend. They do have the Baron buff. They just need to try to focus on taking down these minions as fast as humanly possible. But it is the Valkyrie back for Mask.
Mask doesn't have any rockets. He's got to wait for them to respawn. Here they go.
Yeah, here they go. Dhokla's just going to step forward here. Does land the gold card. And on the side, Mask is gone. And just like that, NRG grasps victory from the jaws of defeat. Taking it back. Immortals got the Baron. NRG got the game and the series victory. Their first of the split.
And that is a classic NRG win. They clutch it out at the very end of the day. Palafox and Contractz, when they stack up the soul point, it looks like Immortals, in that moment, it looked like Immortals had total control of the game. Tactical had been playing godlike the entire time, but he had no flash at the time, and NRG just sends it. With that kill, they end the series, pick up their first match win of the year going into the break.
It's a crazy end to the game. And we got Kobe on stage with the energy, homies. Kobe, take it away.
All right, thank you, Azael. I've got both Palafox and Contractz here. It seemed like you guys needed that win. How are you feeling?
Pretty good, honestly. I told myself I wouldn't shave until I got a win, so I guess I can shave now.
Yes. Thank you from all the fans.
I was scared because we always lose to Immortal, except the last time when we played Vayne and it was going horrible until we won. So this game, I was pretty happy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this one started, the pressure started to really mount. They were getting objective after objective after objective. What was the comms like at that point? Were you like, we have to make a pick, you know, we can't do these standoffs anymore? What was the team feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to get numbers advantage through sight somehow, but I mean, it was getting definitely tricky at times. They have Cleanse, McHale's, QSS. It's like my champ's kind of useless at that point. So, yeah, I mean, just thankfully they overextended on mid after Baron. So.
Yeah, I mean, you two are the ones that got the final pick towards mid lane. What was it?
Well, so what happened is we're going to trap them in red side. We're a little lost, right? And then Juan is like, Lucien no flash? What the fuck? And then I was like, wait, Lucien no flash, and then the game ended.
Good comms, clean stuff. All right, well, I have to go back to the beginning of game number 1 and also ask about the tower dive. The first tower dive on Sejuani, where the ult gets flashed, and then you still go for it. What happened there?
I was warming up.
Yeah, there we go. Our energy warmed up after this victory. Is this going to be NRG Summer?
I mean, good vibes. Scrim's been going pretty well, I think, and we've just been like, we started off pretty low, and I think we're on the up and up, so.
Perfect. All according to plan. I'm happy to hear that. The fans will be happy to hear NRG Summer all going according to plan. My last question, we have FlyQuest versus Dignitas tomorrow. Are you Team Dig or Team Fly?
I'm Team Dig all the way. Let's go.
It's Dig season, baby.
There you have it. They're Team Dignitas as well. We're going to throw it to break. We'll be right back.
Didn't you hear? Bill's a gagillionaire now.
Basically, my new connection is so strong I can game anywhere. Check it out. We've got Gamer Rocker, Gamer Floaty, Gamer Couch.
Whoa.
It's got wheels.
Gamer Bench, Gamer Throne, and Gamer Mower.
What's that?
It's hard to game while walking downstairs.
I get it.
That's smart.
Live like a gagillionaire with low latency everywhere. AT&T Fiber with All-Fi.
Red Bull gives you wings.
We'll start off with that because right off camera you said, I don't even know what that mid game was really. It was all a blur. But first win on the board, just generally, what's the environment on the team like right now?
It's actually pretty good. I'd say after this win, I can actually like breathe. If we lost this game, I think we'd be in a really bad spot. So with the 2-week break, our morale is gonna be a lot higher. So yeah.
They went over some of the comms, especially on that last-minute catch onto Tactical. Yeah. In terms of improving your communication, especially in situations like this where it looks like the game is slipping away, how has that been going from spring to summer?
I think we're just more connected. That's kind of the thing we're going for, just everyone connected to the same play. Had a bit of blunders in the game, but in the end, we brought it back. I mean, Lucien no flash, and then we were just like, all right, let's just send it on him, and then we got it done. So yeah, just high pressure situations, and I'm glad we performed well in them.
And then this always seems to happen against IMT. They brought up on stage. Obviously, last time was the Vayne top. But today, you got to bring out the Jax. Looked really great. How's it been for you overall, especially with the state of top lane right now?
I mean, people know my opinions of top lane with the range top, but my coaches don't agree with me. But one day they will, and that day I'll be unleashed. But it's pretty. You can pick anything right now. But I mean, last week I played Cassante 3 games in a row, so maybe not anything. But yeah, it's pretty versatile if you're open-minded.
All right, we will hope to see if your coaches let you play range tops, and we'll shoot it back to the broadcast.